Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host Evan Tiga. With me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So today we're gonna start by talking about the first two episodes of The Penguin on HBO. A show that you know, going into it, it's one of those shows kind of like Agatha, which we'll talk about probably in a later podcast. Just on paper, it's one of those things like I don't really know why they're making it in theory, but after the first two episodes, I'm very glad they're making it. So, what are your initial thoughts on the show?
Yeah, yeah, like you said, it's been done really well so far. It does a great job of recapturing that Gotham pretty just
Mhm.
rustic, like the exact same Gotham. You're within the first 30 seconds,
Oh yeah.
minute, you're right back to where we were with the movie. You can just feel it in the tone, looking
Mhm.
at the city, and man, it looks great. And like the Penguin's just like you kind of know kind of what to expect because he did an excellent job in the movie. So you're like, yeah, just do more of that. And he's like, okay, and he does exactly what do you think he's gonna do. He's just exactly more. He like I think of the scene like. There's a phrase I always think of when I think of the Penguin, like the Penguin does not take no disrespect, and in the
Oh
first
yeah.
scene where he's with the guy, where he's like, "Yeah, is that your dream? That's so pathetic." I'm like, "Oh well." I'm like,
I love how as soon as he shot him, he was like laughing, and then just like, ah man.
yeah. Right, like he knows that was like dumb, but it's also like, to be fair, the guy was asking for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't just shoot a crime boss. It's just not done. But he does. He's like, well, I thought it through, and well, he didn't think it through, but you know what? We got to do what we got to do, and he does it.
I
And
absolutely loved the moment where he was carrying the body and then just on the top of the steps and just like shoved him down the.
right.
I was like, he's just throwing him down the steps, and he did.
Well, yeah, no, and it's one of those things where it's like, logically speaking, like, he's not going to get more dead. So,
Mhm.
like, I don't, not a terrible idea. Yeah, and it just, and I really like how they, and then, oh my gosh, what is the kid's name?
Victor,
Yes,
Victor.
Vic, yeah. And I'm like, and interesting, and I'm immediately in my head, I'm like, I'm going to hate this character, aren't I? And like, I don't
No,
immediately.
yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. Because I really was like ready to just be like, oh gosh, we're doing this like unnecessary character we don't need. And it's like, oh no, he's actually kind of chill. Like he
Yeah.
kind of fits the story a little bit pretty well. And he gives the Penguin someone to talk to, so he's not just, internal monologuing or something all the whole
Yeah.
way, which works.
Yeah. I know you haven't seen it, but episode 3 is like more so from Victor's perspective pretty much the whole time.
Mm,
And I still
nice.
really liked it. So it's like, yeah, I
Nice.
definitely didn't expect the Penguin to get a Robin before Batman did, but here we are.
Listen, here we are. Gotham's a crazy place, man. You never know. But yeah, and I really, but they did a really good job. Every character just feels so, really, in character, but also like just so sinister because like, they've got Sophia for a while, and she's like so intimidating for a while. Like, just seems very unhinged from the jump, which you love, and like,
Mhm.
and she does a great job of kind of like selling this like, oh yeah, I believe you, but like we all know she's like he's like bro,
That
he's like
actress in
bro,
particular is so good at eye acting. Just
right?
you can just see in her eyes just like so much more emotion than her face is allowed to give off, and it's just so good.
Right, she just went you're just like, bro, run. He immediately goes like, yeah, we just gotta go. Gets on two trains, a bus, gets
Mhm.
switches cars, drives to his house. All right, mom, we gotta go. We gotta go. I'm like,
Yeah.
dang. Bro was like, yeah, that's it. She knows. Cause I'm like, we know, but like he knows, right? He's not okay, good. He's not crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Yeah, but that was great. And then they got the whole thing with the Maroney, which again, Clancy Brown's
Clancy
always a
Brown.
win.
Hmm.
Just great, just a great scene in the prison, and also I love the little anecdote at the end where he's like, he's like you like tell like, yeah, you didn't sell him, but at the last minute, oh, here's your ring, by the way, and you're like, oh wow, that's a great way to sell him. Then you realize, oh, he planned the whole thing, bro. Like the
Yeah.
whole that. I'm not gonna lie. That last con at the end, I was like, I did not see that coming. I was not
Absolutely.
expecting that. That was really well done. So now, and then it goes right into the next episode. You got a full on, we're gonna find out, and oh, you work for me. No, you work for me. Like, he's just like whoever, whoever doesn't kill me, I can work for whoever. If I gotta take out some
Yeah.
people along the way, that's just business. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, man, yeah, it's doing a really good job so far. I'm really liking the characters. I love, like you said, the acting is just really superb so far. Like, I'm really, not a single person has like taken me out of what I'm watching in like any capacity. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like very Sopranos, but also you still know it's Gotham. Like, it just works.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, like the only real criticism I have of the show is I kind of wish that the penguin looked more like penguin. Like I wish he at least had a cane, at least, or at least like I don't even be wearing a top hat all the time, but just he has a very deliberate limp. I feel like that'd be a good excuse for him to just have a cane of some kind.
Everton. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they'll like add it, or maybe they'll like, make, or like maybe he'll kind of have an umbrella he kind of uses as a cane or something like that. Which I don't know. I feel like maybe they'll add something later, but
Mhm.
we'll
'Cause I
see.
thought
Maybe
he
that's kind of
came at
how
some point in the movie. I could be wrong though.
I think he did. Now that you say it, I'm trying to remember, but
Maybe not.
maybe not
Like,
yet. Maybe that's like, maybe it happens. Something else happens in this movie, or maybe it's just like a trope. I would like be like a trophy or something from the end of the show to be like, oh, when I took out both mob bosses, this was like, my trophy for that or something. So
mhm.
that would be kind of cool. And then he just has it for the rest of this universe,
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
right?
But yeah, like you know, Colin Farrell's acting, you would not be able to convince somebody that was Colin Farrell if you didn't, if they didn't know it was him. Um, yeah, all like I said, every single character is doing a great job. Um, yeah, even Victor, who I thought I would get annoyed at, I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very surprised so far that I'm not. I that he's been a great character again. Not the centerpiece of attention. They didn't give him too much to do. Like very much a like kind of like especially what you're saying for episode three. Very much like an extra lens for the audience to kind of look through as a character, as well as like someone to easily bounce off of for your main character who doesn't really have a main like person to talk to for the most part. So it
Right.
is a necessary change. And again, when done well, it works. But again, I could very easily see this going south.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it hasn't so far.
Hmm. Yeah. And I I don't usually like doing this because like a lot of the comic book Twitter in particular, 80% of it is just people wildly speculating and then getting disappointed when their insane speculations don't come true. Um, and I don't really love, delving into that necessarily, but I will say this character's name is Victor, and there's at least two significant Batman characters who are named Victor. I don't necessarily think he'll become Victor Freeze, but Victor Zaz, I think I could kind of see, especially with context of something that happened in episode three. I could almost see this be a character who, like, once it gets the taste for blood, it like
He
kind
just
of
goes
starts.
nuts.
Yeah, I could kind of see that happening.
Really?
Yeah, like
I
it hasn't
mean,
like fully like happened yet, but like it could kind of go either way to at the end of season, at the end of episode three, like something happening can kind of go either way. So I
oh
because
boy. Oh my god.
yeah,
If that
yeah,
does end up happening, man, I'll be like, oh snap. Like again, would it be I mean, because again, I wasn't expecting it. I'm just like, as long as they don't make somehow weirdly make him cyborg, I'm good.
yeah, exactly. That was
But
again a bunch of random people were like, oh, he's
no,
Victor, he's he's not white, so he's got to be cyborg. It's like
no,
no, stop
literally like
that.
for like a half second when he said my name's Big, I was like, oh no. Like that was really like they're
uh-huh.
like they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, I mean I mean if it somehow they backdoor into Victor's ass somehow that would actually be kind of amazing.
Mhm.
I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, because like that's a character that not a lot of just casual Batman fans really know about because he's not a character you can really do in a animated format because his whole thing is killing people. Like you can't really make that subdued for a kids cartoon. And
Yeah.
none of the movies are rated high enough to really allow that. Whereas this is definitely a very rated R show, so it if they wanted to, they could. I also found it very interesting, and this is again something else that kind of gets dealt more in episode three, but they touched on it in episode one, where it specifically is mentioned a couple of times that the flood that Riddler created didn't really impact anybody who it should have. Like it only impacted the like slums and people who are already poor and not well off. Whereas, the Maronis and the Falcones, they're perfectly fine up with their mansions on the other side of town. I found
Mhm.
that very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that was a pretty common thing with that too. It's like especially like seeing how like yeah this was made such a big deal there and then here it's like oh yeah by the way that was not really like it feels like the flood is one of those things that's like we know it happened in universe but also like I get Gotham's a big city but like nothing really shows that you could tell it's even happens especially since it's supposed to be like I mean the show starts what a week after
I think a
so
week, yeah.
like, yeah, so like it should be pretty insane still, but other than like the opening, you don't really. I kind of forgot about it to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think its effects might kind of like be more subtle, but it does kind of feel like a thing where there should be more property damage at least just around. But yeah, like I said, there might just be in like richer parts of town more often because that's where like that's where the operations take place, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it.
I'm really enjoying it.
I mean, it's great so far. I'm really. I gotta watch this next episode, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to just to keep watching. I mean, it's really good. Like I thought it would be good, but like I'm honestly, it's giving me more than I expected.
Yeah, it's one of those shows I'm very glad I haven't like seen any of the trailers or anything for. I've just oh, it's a Penguin show set in the Matt Reeves Batman universe. I love that movie. Probably gonna like this show, and it's interesting and kind of wild the fact that this show, like, yeah, Matt Reeves is producing it. But he's not directing. He didn't write it or anything, as far as I know. The choreographer uh, was busy making Dune 2 when this show was being made. It's Michael Giacchino's, I think that's his name, the guy that did the score for the Batman, a bunch of other stuff. His son is doing the score. Yet it's still because even though like most of the elements are not what made the Batman great, it's still a really really good show. So if for whatever reason any of those elements can't come back for the Batman Part Two, the people that made this show could easily step in and I think still do a pretty great job.
Hmm No, it's some really good stuff so far, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, honestly, I like kind of like you said at the beginning. I'm generally not a fan of like shows that are just kind of like seem like, oh, they're making this. Why? But I mean, so far, I'm like, this is great. And honestly, yeah, like this could very easily lead into the next movie, and then like we pick right up. Penguin's even more awesome than he was in the last movie because we have way more story, we have way more, Penguin being the next big boss, kind of, he was kind of like a side antagonist in the first movie, and having him be more of the main deal, or at least more constructing things behind the scenes, because I do think he's a very underrated Batman villain as far as like the criminal
Oh yeah,
underworld goes.
absolutely. And I know that they said that they're gonna try to keep this Batman more grounded than I would like, especially
Hmm.
since every single Batman movie is more grounded. But like whatever, like the one chance we kind of have with a less grounded Batman, he was in a terrible, terrible movie. So in BVS, and that movie, we didn't get the Batman with Ben Affleck's Batman. That could have been more fantastical, but maybe not. I don't know. But regardless, uh, like what I'm getting at is, even though this is going to be a more grounded Batman, I predict, like you kind of said earlier, by the end of the Penguin, both the Falcons and the Maronis will essentially be, non-existent, at least like as far as like their influence in the city, which puts Gotham in a really good place for a bunch of weird stuff to happen going forward, which is where I'd like
Yeah.
Gotham to be.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta let you gotta have the organized crime go down so the chaos can rise, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they've already teased Joker in this universe, so like it's time for let the freaks out essentially.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the potential the show has to, just to be good in its own right, but also uplift this universe it exists in. Um, people seem to be really enjoying it. I'm hoping that you know this universe can get even more great spin-offs if someone has a good idea for whatever. Like, you know, I didn't, I wouldn't think that I would want like a Catwoman spin-off or whatever, but I didn't think I'd want a Penguin one either. I'm sure just like they keep
Yeah,
doing in Bloodhaven now, show that. It would probably be pretty good.
maybe. I mean, if they keep up this effort, like yeah, it might be.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I know you haven't seen this yet, but I have very similar feelings to Agatha all along. A show I did not feel like I wanted or felt should be made, but after watching the first 4 episodes, I feel like an idiot because it's a very good show.
Hey, at least you're willing to admit you were wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that no one can seem to do anymore.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's just very satisfying to live in a world where there's just a lot of good content out. Sometimes there's this big droughts of times where like you're excited for something and then you watch it. Sometimes it's been weeks at a time coming back to a show over and over again and it still turns out terrible. Or you're excited for a big movie and that turned out to be bad. But at least in this, last couple of months, I think pretty much everything I've watched has turned out pretty good.
Yeah, we're eating good right about now.
Yeah. Although just like with every single big movie that people like when it initially comes out, once it comes to digital and people have had 3 months to ruminate on it and form opinions based on video essays they watched one time and try to remember what they said. People are now starting to turn on Deadpool and Wolverine because of course they are. I thought everyone liked it when it first came out, but no, all of a sudden the CG is bad and the acting is wooden and the emotional core isn't there and blah blah blah. And like, shut up. Why can't you just enjoy things?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we just can't. You know what I mean? We
Mm.
just can't let's enjoy. Like it's great. Let's just roll with it. But like, no, like why not? Like,
Like especially when, and this happens with almost every good movie. You know, movies are made, like, generally speaking, movies are created to be viewed in a theater, in a crowd of people, just to watch it, in full, all in one go. They're not made to be, broken down frame by frame to like look at all the mistakes and all the like issues and the bad CG and the blocking and all. That's not the point of the movie. I don't care that during the scene where Deadpool and Wolverine are, fighting the horde of other Deadpools. I don't care that like, not every attack like landed exactly, or they're clearly waiting for the next attack. I don't care. It looks really
Yeah,
cool in motion on the big screen. That's all.
yeah. It's
That's
like,
all that it needed to be.
well, my thing's like, if I have to go in like 0.25x speed to like notice it when you've got all this other stuff going on, it's like, are we really gonna be like, oh, the movie's trash because of that? Like, yes, I get it. That's probably a pretty glaring mistake in the writing side, but it's also like, come on, like, like who can't? Like,
Also,
we're having a great time.
yeah. Also, I can just, suspend my disbelief for a second and understand that these are two characters that really can't die anyway. So it didn't matter. It really doesn't matter like what happens here. All that matters is that we see a cool fight scene between a bunch of, people that can't die. Like that's all this is. But like,
I mean, they literally all get up as soon as they all get knocked down anyway,
yeah.
so that doesn't
But
really, you know what I mean?
yeah, like people are like, oh, this movie is just, a bunch of action figures getting slapped together. It's like, but that's cool. Who
Yeah.
cares?
He's like, was that
This
not
is
made
something a toddler would
obvious?
think up. Like, okay, they have
Yes,
imagination. Who
that's
cares?
the. But it's like, I mean, but it's like, I don't understand complaining about that because it's like, what were you expecting? Like that's literally been every Deadpool movie.
Right? Like, after watching the first two kind of recently, the writing of this one is just about, as good. There is an emotional core, like, there the characterization of pretty much every character is good. Like, I don't know what you really were expecting if you thought it's bad now, but that's, I don't know.
I mean, again, if you didn't like this one for some reason, I don't think you liked any of them. And if you didn't like any of them, I think that's on you. I mean, to
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah, yeah. That just generally happens with almost every single movie. If there's like, it's also just this idea for some reason of like this feeling of, for some reason, wanting to be contrarian, just so you
Just because.
just because, and contrarian viewpoints seem to be amplified louder than positive ones, so it just, yeah, it's it's
Yeah,
annoying.
I want to be different. I want to cause conflict. It's for clicks, or oh, it
Yeah.
stands out. If I say this movie everyone likes isn't that good, and then
Hmm.
everyone's like, oh, comment, and it's like, ooh. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is the internet. People do stuff for dumb
Hmm.
reasons, even if they believe it or not, or if they do, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Clearly, no one else agrees with you.
Hmm. Now, a movie that kind of had the exact opposite effect that I'm talking about here, Transformers One. I'm gonna talk to you about Transformers for a while. You okay with
Yeah, no,
that?
please, please. I'm sure you will. No.
So, if you recall, the trailers, or should I say trailer, because I legitimately think they only made the one trailer.
Mm.
The trailer for this movie might be one of the worst trailers I have ever seen. It made the movie look so childish, so weird and kind of unhinged, and like it didn't look good at all. Like, it actively made the movie look bad. Like, all of the jokes were very classic, like, oh, I can do that now. Are they right behind me? Like those kinds of like bad, you know, there's like those kinds of bad jokes that are really not in that many movies, but people like because there are some examples, people like to say they're in every movie. You know those kinds of jokes.
Right.
But that's the entire trailer was just those kinds of jokes. Um, and like halfway through the trailer, they started playing "Start Me Up" by Rolling Stones. Like it doesn't, and then that song wasn't even in the movie. Not that it should have been, but like why is the only reason that
Why play it
song
in
is
the
here
trailer and not,
is
yeah.
because I guess engines start up when but they don't. They're transformers, so they're not. Not they don't have engines, but it's not the same. Whatever. Someone on the marketing team was like, "Oh, they're cars. Start your engines is a car thing." So
It's perfect.
okay. And like it did the classic trailer thing where half of the lines that are spoken in the trailer are clearly not spoken by the person on screen at the time, even though they're kind of trying to make it look like the person on screen is talking, but clearly they're not. It was just a very very bad trailer. Like I said, to my knowledge, they didn't release another one, and luckily they didn't really show that trailer all that often because anyone who had already seen it, didn't want to see the movie. So, but kind of because they didn't really show it that often anywhere, by the time the movie came out in mid September, either every single person who had seen the trailer didn't want to see it, thought it was bad, or no one knew the movie was coming out at all because they had basically no marketing for this movie.
Right.
So like the anticipation for this movie was non-existent because either no one knew it was going to come out or no one wanted to see it anyway. Um, but as a Transformers fan that I am, I went to see it opening weekend, and boy, is this movie good! Like not just like, oh, I'm a Transformers fanboy, I like anything. Heck no. Almost every single Transformers movie is garbage tier. Even the most recent one before this, Rise of the Beasts, which I thought was going to be on the right track. No, it has a lot of the same issues that those Michael Bay movies had. Um, Even like some unique ones to it, but like it's bad. It's a bad movie. I'm sorry. I wanted to like it. I really wanted to, but no. This movie, however, clearly has heart and effort put into it, which I really cannot say for most of the other Transformers movies. Um, So like the basic plot of the movie is Orion Pax, who's like kind of like the precursor to Optimus. Him and D16, who is basically like proto Megatron, they
Mhm.
essentially start out as miners because Cybertron. If at some point you get lost or have any questions, just let me know because he's saying a lot of nouns and stuff, and just stop me if you need me to. Um, Cybertron has stopped like naturally producing energon for the past like 50 years after this big war happened. And the matrix of leadership was like lost to time, and that was they didn't really explain it super well, but somehow the matrix of leadership like somehow causes energon to like flow in like rivers all throughout the planet. But that's stopped since the matrix was lost. So they have to like literally drill into the core of the planet in order to mine energon. Um, and they another like kind of major part of this is all of the miners are cogless robots. There's a specific like divide in the society of transformers and no cogs. They're like transformers with a literal hole in their chest where a like something should go that would let them transform, but they don't have it. And all the no cogs are relegated to being miners, where all the transformers are able to just kind of fly around, do whatever, participate in society naturally, whereas the miners cannot. Um, and the one ruling the society is Sentinel Prime, who this is one of those movies that it very much so rewards like hardcore Transformers fans without like shoving it down your throat with references and like, you know, like as much as I love Deadpool and Wolverine, almost every single major cameo in that movie, there was like a pause for the audience to like cheer or like,
Mhm.
Deadpool said some joke which would allow the audience to like enough time to like, to finish cheering. Um, Even ones that were already revealed in the trailers, like you didn't really whatever. Um, but like, sometimes they'll just like say random names or like or make like a subtle reference to some other transfer media, and it won't be like it'll just be a part of the movie. Like it won't be they won't like you know they won't stop the movie for 3 seconds or even longer sometimes just to let the audience react and move on. Like it's actually integrated fully into the movie, and I appreciate that. So Sentinel Prime, he's a character that has like a bunch of different iterations, but he almost always sucks in every single one of them. He's either straight up villainous or just antagonistic or racist or just some kind of bad, some kind of bad. And also design wise, this Sentinel is kind of a conglomeration of a bunch of other ones, and I really like when media can do that. Or like, you know, he's still very recognizable, but it's still his own thing. But Sentinel Prime has been claiming that he's been, going to the surface of the planet to search for the Matrix because that's where, theoretically it was last seen. Like the other primes who were like the first ever Transformers, who I guess are better than everyone else. They were up on the surface fighting the like the evil alien race, which are called the Quintessons. Um, or these big like tentacle monster things. Um, they died in like a big in a big battle against the Quintessons. So Sentinel had been trying to find it, but it turns out after uh, D16 and Orion Pax and B Bumblebee, after they venture to the surface to try to go on their own expedition to find it, since Sentinel keeps coming back empty-handed, they're like, we want to try. So they go up and try to find it. Once they find where like where it was, one of the original primes who was in that battle was like still, he was powered down, but he was still functioning. So they woke him up and he revealed to them, oh, actually, it was Sentinel. You know, this Sentinel staged this you know this like surprise attack that that he was working with them. So he should not be trusted, and that kind of made D16 a little mad. So now they got to go back to the city, like the main city, to rally troops against Sentinel. Um, and along the way, they encountered this like other group of like, they're called the High Guard, but essentially just, if you know anything about Transformers, imagine any named Decepticon you can think of. They're in this High Guard. They're like
Okay.
basically the Royal Guard who used to work for the Primes, but after the Primes all disappeared, they just kind of you know they just kind of
Do their own
have
thing.
made their own society up there. But Megatron was able to defeat their leader, who was Starscream, who was voiced by Steve Buscemi, who was great. I did a great Starscream voice. He was able to beat him up and then kind of like rally them to go help fight uh, fight with them. But before he was able to really get them, Megatron or D16, a bunch of them were captured by Sentinel troops, taken back to town. And then Optimus went to the mining colonies and got a bunch of the miners to like help him fight. And then Climax happened. D16. Oh, I forgot to mention when D16 and Orion and B and Alita One, that's the other Transformer who's with the girl one who's with them. When they met that one Prime that was powered down, he had some cogs in like that were in the fallen soldiers that were in the room he was in. He basically gave them their cogs to allow them to transform. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So climax happens. D16 kills Sentinel, takes his cog, and he becomes Megatron. But right before he killed Sentinel, Optimus tried to like jump in the way, like, no, we can't, we can't kill him. You'll be just like him. That kind of thing. And then Megatron accidentally shoots Orion, and he like falls down into the down and down into the core, and in the core, like the spirits of the past primes, like basically transform him into Optimus. He shoots back up onto the surface. Optimus and Megatron have a big fight. Optimus eventually wins. Great. End of movie.
That actually does sound pretty good.
Yeah. And like my only two major criticisms I have, and the rest of it's I think pretty good. The two major criticisms. One, the humor. I will say the vast majority of the bad jokes that are in the movie were in those trailers. I don't know why they keep doing that. It seems like movie trailers just continue to only take the worst parts of a movie and show that when like there are actually good funny parts, but whatever. Um, so it's like you're waiting for those moments to happen the whole time, and like when they finally do, it's like, ah, that happened. But you know, a lot of the
like,
like, hmm,
like maybe it won't be that bad. Nope, it was that bad still.
yeah, yeah, like all the bad jokes were still bad, but there still were a lot of funny and a lot of like good, good moments otherwise. And my only other major criticism, and I've seen like some conflicting viewpoints on this, but I do still believe this even after seeing it the second time. I do legitimately feel like Megatron's descent into madness and like full on, you know, him becoming Megatron felt a little rushed and forced a little bit. Um, and a part of that is just mainly because after after they got their cogs and like when they're on their way back to the city, I feel like Orion and D16 didn't really communicate with each other nearly as much as they should have. Like obviously they both like Megatron or whatever. I would say Megatron. Megatron made it very clear that he wanted to kill Sentinel for betraying them. Like he looked up to Sentinel his entire life, and now all of a sudden he's a traitor. He wanted like he made it very clear like almost from the jump that he wanted to kill him, and Optimus was like, "Whoa, okay, let's come down here." Um, but like there's a couple of other times where like if Optimus and Megatron just talked it out, they could have either came with a better plan or he could have like tried to reason with Megatron at least to kind of try to get him to understand that there are other ways of doing this to the point where during the climax um during the climax uh Optimus B and Megatron are fighting Sentinel, and they have this idea to like basically broadcast all the horrible things Sentinel had been saying to them in his villain monologue to the whole city. So Optimus and B like rush away to the broadcasting tower, leaving Megatron alone to fight Sentinel, and he happens to win. But I think thematically speaking, it would have been way cooler if Optimus and Megatron fought him together, and like they both land like some finishing blow and leave like down
Mhm.
him. He's not dead, but he's like down, and then Megatron's like, okay, let's kill him, and Optimus is like, wait, no, let's not. We can take him prisoner. Everyone already knows he's bad. We can just you know we don't need to kill him, and then he dies. But instead Sentinel, like even though he was shown to have this incredible power, it the way Sentinel gets defeated felt a little less impactful than I was hoping it would,
Mhm.
because it was just Megatron. and it was really like even the second time I saw it, like I was looking 4 times, and Sentinel got hit by anybody. It was like maybe 3 times total, and Sentinel was like on the ground so bad he couldn't like barely move, and that was I felt a little, especially
Really,
since I
like,
felt. Hmm,
yeah, like plot just made it. He had to lose, but it's like, wow, like you could have made it at least look good.
yeah, like Megatron could have blasted his leg off or something, but like not kill him, but like wound him enough where he basically it makes sense because Optimus and B didn't both have to go to the broadcast room. You could have you could have just had Alita 1 and B doing that. You didn't need all three of them. Um, and because we spent so much of the movie seeing Optimus and Megatron work together, it would have been kind of cool seeing them fight together one last time. But we didn't get that. Instead, the last time we see them interact is them actually fighting against each other, which again is a very very good fight. But I feel that would have been a little bit stronger had we actually seen them fight together one more time right before that. But regardless, the plot is still very, very good. The acting is overall very, very good. Like Chris Hemsworth does it amazing, especially by the end of it. Like I think a very, very good Optimus. Um, uh, like genuinely, especially the second time I'm watching it, he does he doesn't even really do a lot of voice acting, but I felt as the movie progressed and as Orion slash Optimus got more experience throughout, and basically literally got bigger and better throughout, his voice like at least subtly changed to sound more powerful, more demanding, like more commanding, more more
Mhm.
leader, more leader like, and I felt that was very good. Like by the end of it, not that he sounded exactly like Peter Cullen, but he's sounded like a pretty solid
He would,
replacement.
yeah, he would like grow into it, especially because it's like a younger Optimus still.
Yeah, exactly. And one of my favorite scenes of the year, possibly even decade at this point,
Ooh,
was
oh,
so the scene where like right after Megatron shot off Optimus, he's falling to the floor. The way it's done, it's like Optimus is like he's falling down to the core, and like the visuals of him like passing. I can't even really explain all what's going on, but just imagine like I can't even explain it. It looks really cool. Let's put it that way. And then like as that's happening, Megatron is like giving this grandiose speech about how like we will not be deceived by by any false prophets. We'll go like full on evil tyrant mode. And then Optimus is like getting like is now in the in this like bright white room, getting like surrounded by all the past primes. They're all like giving him wisdom, and they're like, you will now be, arise Optimus Prime, and when he shoots back up, it's just such a fantastic scene. And another like kind of wrinkle in that is when Optimus went to go like rally the miners to go fight, it's specifically framed kind of like from above, and Optimus kneels down to the other miners because originally he was the
mm,
same height as them, and now he's so much taller. Um, he like kneels down to talk to them, basically, as equals. Whereas
right.
when Megatron goes full on, is now Megatron, he's from above, like with, you know,
Hmm.
like I'm greater than you. That's just such good framing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and the this movie actually had some really good uh like very creative transforming, which like is kind of weird to say, but that doesn't really happen all that often. Like they'll be fighting and like mid fight they'll transform, like like drive around, like on transform like a tackle, and uh
Oh, yeah.
or like partially
I always wonder
transform
why
to
they
like
don't do
shoot
that more.
something, or yeah. One time in particular, Megatron, his other form is a tank form. He was like driving around as a tank about to shoot Optimus, and Optimus like grabs the cannon part, rips it off, and like is about to like basically baseball hit back into Megatron, but Megatron is like mid transforming while he's doing that. So when he hits Megatron, the cannon part just like reconnects and just like becomes a part of him again. It just shoots him back. Like, oh, that was so cool.
That's actually super. That's actually super slick. Dude, that
Yeah,
sounds awesome.
yeah. And like it's one of those movies where the plot is kind of basic, especially if you know literally anything about Transformers. You have to like you assume, you know, something happens to make these two, you know, fall apart and basically have to become the Autobots and the Decepticons at some point. But I feel like even though I pretty much spoiled the whole plot for you, it's still very worth it at some point to watch this movie. So
Okay.
yeah, it's like the way I described to my brother, who also absolutely adores Transformers. uh, uh, he was very apprehensive about seeing it, even though I was praising it. I had seen it before him. He was like, "Am I actually gonna like this?" And I'm like, "I think you'll like it at least as much as you liked the Ninja Turtles movie from last year. You saw that,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Me, Mayhem, yeah. I don't, obviously you're a much bigger Ninja Turtles fan than we are, but I think just as much as like they are a love letter to that individual franchise, I think
Right.
they're I think they're about equal, and that's
If
I think
you
very
like
impressive.
this, yeah, if you like Transformers, you'll love this, essentially.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Like there is so much about this movie that was just completely absent from the trailers, and I know that you didn't want to spoil Sentinel being the bad guy. I understand that. I understand that there are things about it that like maybe even Paramount said you can't show, but there's there's just so much heart and effort put into this movie, and the fact that that trailer was the best that the marketing team could come up with. It's absolutely insane to me.
Read, yeah, because man,
Um,
that
yeah,
trailer, I mean, it looked really boring. I'm not gonna lie.
not just boring. It looked actively terrible. Like like it looked like the movie you would think of when you think, oh, a Transformers movie's made for children.
Yeah,
But no, like the vast majority of this movie, if you were a child, you wouldn't understand what's happening. Like a lot of it is, you know, like first of all, there's a little more swearing in it than I was expecting.
really?
Yeah, it's rated PG, and there's
I did
it's not
not
like
feel.
every other word, but like it's like maybe 6 or 7 total words on the entire movie. It's still more than you'd expect for for a
I'm
movie.
about to say, yeah,
It's like in The Incredibles how there was like 2 swear words in the whole movie, and like, oh, that's weird. In Incredibles 2.
yeah, I
Remember that?
remember that. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, like I forget it every single time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I come back,
But
and I'm like,
like,
oh, right.
yeah, like it's not none of like the bad ones, but it's still
Like
what
it,
do they
it
think?
feels very out of place in the movie.
Exactly. Um, so there's that. So even though the trailers were specifically targeting children and parents of children, I don't. It's like they didn't watch the movie. It's like Paramount gave them 5 clips to use, and like, here, use these clips, make a trailer out of this garbage, and they,
Probably
yeah,
did, yeah.
yeah. And something absolutely hilarious about this movie's existence is there's this guy on Twitter called I think he's called the TF Hype Man. That's his Twitter handle. And he got his start on Twitter as a basically like a countdown to the release of the Rise of the Beasts trailer. I think the Twitter account was called like, "Is the trailer for Rise of the Beasts out yet?" And every day it would be like, "No," or "Yes," "No," like and then like
Yeah.
is the movie out yet, or days until the movie comes out, like that kind of thing. Um, and he did the exact same thing for this movie. And even he, like I casually follow him on Twitter, even he was like a little disappointed in the trailers. But after it came out, he has been this movie's strongest soldier. Like in the past week, this man has rallied so many random people on the internet to go see this movie. Like a bunch of like actually kind of big, you know, uh, movie critics that are like big like YouTube movie critics are now watching it because he kind of harassed them into seeing it. Like every single comment, like no matter, it's one of those things where this happens a lot on Twitter anyway. Like there's a
Mhm.
couple of people where you any single Twitter post you see, the top comment will be like the same four people, and they're always
Yeah.
like bots or like just random trash, but this guy has been like on every single tweet for the past like week or so, being like, "You should see this movie." Like, you know what's actually good? This movie is like, it's actually kind of endearing.
Oh my gosh.
Because this movie does deserve to do better in the box office than it currently is. Um, it had a $75 million budget, and it's only made like 98 million. Although it hasn't released in Europe yet, which is
Oh,
weird. Like it released first in Australia, and then a couple days later released in America, and only now in this weekend is it releasing in the UK. I don't I don't know why, but that's what they're doing. Um, and like apparently this guy has been reporting, people telling him that, you know, they're, like, oh, like my theater was planning on taking it away, but after so many people requested to go see it, you know, they're leaving it up for at least the next while. So that's very cool to see.
I mean, one passionate fan can make the difference.
hmm
We've seen it in positive and negative lights before.
hmm I saw one person be like the press release was, you know, Transformers One makes, crosses 80 million to the box office on a $75 million budget, and someone responded with, "Oh, this is good because because the marketing team had $5 in a potato to work with anyway." So
I mean, to be honest, yeah. How do you have I mean, my thing is too, yeah, like you have $75 billion to work on this movie, and at no point you're just like, you know what? Let's just not work on advertising. Because again, I remember,
uh,
I think I saw the trailer one time, and like there was like no other advertising, and that happens a lot with
hmm
movies these days. Like
yeah,
they'll just come out, and you're kind of just like, oh, was this a thing? But then other
hmm
movies you'll hear about for 4 months before they're even
yeah,
like maybe have a release date announced, and you've already
hmm
seen two trailers. And I'm like, bro,
yeah. Like legitimately, I don't know why Paramount specifically keeps doing this, because they did this similar thing with that Dungeons and Dragons movie last year. A
yes.
legitimately great movie. Terrible trailers. Absolutely
Terrible
garbage trailers.
advertising. Like I remember being like, "Oh, this sounds like a good idea." Watch the trailer and actually was like, "Well, I'm not going to see that." And if my friend hadn't dragged me, I would never have seen it.
hmm Yeah, because look like the trailers make it look like a movie that someone made, if they had a friend who played D&D once explain it badly to them, and that this is the movie they make. Oh, mimics, okay, we'll throw a
Hmm.
mimic in there. Oh, like a griffin, like, oh, like, okay, like the just like it didn't really seem like a Dungeons and Dragons movie. But if you actually watch it, like, oh, this is a campaign that people actually built, like legitimately, like things that you would never think, would like
Yeah.
legitimately, it does feel like certain actions, like oh, they rolled a good check on that. Like oh, do I have this in my bag? Oh, I do have this in my bag. Like that, like those kinds of things happen. Like they tried to see where they tried to put that the, like portal thing through. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but then they're about to get through, but then like someone like put something on top. It's like yeah, that kind of stuff happens. Trying to do a thing like oh, you roll low and someone stops it. Like yeah,
Right. Oh
but
gosh.
you
Yeah, but
wouldn't.
just yeah, bad I mean again, bad advertising can beat a really good movie as we've seen now in multiple attempts and
Mhm.
and the opposite too, there's been good advertising for not so great stuff. So,
Yeah,
it very much depends.
absolutely. And generally you can be like oh, the advertising for a movie is about double the production budget, give or take. Like sometimes, the movie has like $200 million budget. We'll say at least $100 million budget for marketing. So like it needs to cross at least 300 to break even, preferably like 4 to 5 to really break even after the box office cut. You know, whereas this movie, like 90 might be enough to actually break even on this. Like
Yeah,
after
they probably
everything's said and done, like it might be enough.
yeah. Do you think maybe that's a marketing strategy kind of like I mean, I guess not marketing strategy, but like you think that's a strategy like, hey, let's just put no money in our marketing and then anything we make could potentially be profit?
Fine
Like
with other people.
theoretically
That is
no,
the
but like
This is a Transformers movie. This is a very well-known 40-year-old franchise that granted the movies recently haven't been great, and that might be a lot of the empathy towards the movies as a whole is people might just be getting tired of Transformers stuff. But when you have a good one, let people know you have a good one.
oh, but maybe they always thought they had a good one and then they kind of haven't been. Plus, maybe they're just like maybe they're like, hey, it's a name brand name, so as long as people hear Transformers, they'll go.
Maybe. I don't know. I also think the name, after watching the movie, it makes more sense, but I think the name itself is a little confusing. Transformers One, like it's kind of like the whole Xbox situation. Xbox One, like, but it's
One
not
what? One what?
the like that word has more significance to like for this movie than than you would think. I still don't know if that name was necessarily the best name for it, but you're right. It should still be Transformers as a name should still draw in at least a decent group of people, but we'll see how it shakes out eventually. Like I said, it releases in Europe this weekend. Apparently, theaters in America are still keeping it around. People are still going to see it, so I'm hoping it does at least well enough to get a sequel. So,
Transformers 2.
Transformers. Moving on to the last topic here. Time to do what we believe to be the Mount Rushmore of Batman gadgets. Now, we briefly discussed whether or not the Batmobile counts. And I personally don't think it should. I think.
Agreed. In
Okay.
my head, I personally kind of thought was like, if it doesn't fit on the belt, it's not a gadget.
Yes. If it
And
doesn't
I
fit
feel like
on his
that's
person, we'll say, just to kind of cover all.
okay, yeah, on this person. Okay, yeah, wait, okay, that
Yeah.
works. That works. Also, what's part of the costume, I wouldn't really consider a gadget. So, like, glider cape kind of
Yeah.
really isn't. Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Okay. So just get the easy ones out of the way. Batarang, grapple, smoke bomb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, smoke bomb, like, and like the first two, absolutely. But yeah, smoke bomb probably a good one. Um, I mean,
I
So
feel
I'm trying.
like
It's interesting.
ice pellets seem to be like a
Ice
good catch-all
pellets.
for like, especially so in watching through the the Batman cartoon
Hmm.
now, and once he figured out how to beat Clayface with those like little ice pellets,
Hmm.
he's been using those a lot more for other people as well to like either freeze
It's
them in place
true.
or like to stop like specific gadgets or stuff. So like
Hmm.
they're a good they're good specifically for Clayface and even like Poison Ivy and other specifically, but also they can have general good use as well.
Okay. Not bad. I know for me, one I thought of, kind of a simple one, but kind of like the like universal lock pick or whatever, because he's always like getting out of handcuffs or some kind of trap or something.
Hmm.
Um, then again, there's smoke
Is
bomb.
batarangs universal? Like shock batarangs, explosive batarangs,
I think
putty
so.
batarangs? Okay.
I think that all counts in batarang because like, it's like if we're gonna do that, then like that's like three batarangs, like the best ones.
Hmm.
But yeah, because then like, oh, remote batarang, it's like, come on,
Yeah,
that feels pretty.
yeah.
I'm trying to think like what else is like a because like I'm trying to think like Arkham Batman, but I'm like, okay, but do other people use that or is that just for the game?
Right.
It's like if it's only for one version, I feel like it's not as iconic unless it's just super awesome. But
Would so we said the Batmobile definitely isn't, but would a device that calls the Batmobile to him count?
I mean, I feel like that's already kind of the same thing, so like maybe not. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe maybe. Oh, what about like a rebreather or like a breathing mask or something like that?
That's
That's
good. Yeah.
pretty
Some
because
kind
that's
of like
usually for like smoke underwater, pretty much. Something he should wear just always, in my opinion. But
yeah, like his mask should be able to like cover his face
yeah,
whenever he's like fighting Joker to not get toxins or whatever.
yeah. Because I'm like, I mean, the amount of times where either Poison Ivy or Joker or Scarecrow, I'm like, you half your villains have some sort of aerosol attack, so maybe we should
Hmm.
just not
Yeah,
deal with that. But
yeah.
personal thoughts.
Tracking devices.
I think that's a good one. That's a big one. Cause yeah, like cause that's like all that every that version of Batman has a little bat shaped tracking device. I think that's a good
Yes.
one. See that's why I kind of want something that every version basically has. Like
Hmm.
I think tracking device, smoke bomb, batarang, grappling hook.
Yeah.
That seems pretty solid.
Um, like the other kind of standard ones are like bat handcuffs. I feel that they're bat wing
Yeah,
shapes. I don't know if they're really that different. Um,
yeah. I mean, I guess there's different purpose, but because tracking device is good. What about
I know in some continuities he can like pull out a sword from his utility belt.
the bat sword? Just to have like, which I'm like, I don't know how a sword fits in your belt at all, but okay.
Yeah.
But you're Batman, so it's fine.
Mhm.
No, that's
um, like
or like,
explosive gel, but again, I don't know if that's like a universal thing or if it's just like
yeah, I feel like I mean, he has various explosives, but I feel like explosive gel is like an Arkham specific thing.
Mhm.
Just like that, like voice sequencer, like or like he has hacking things, but like that specific thing is probably not a Batman gadget. But
Yeah.
I think the four we came up with are probably the best, just because I can't really name a Batman ever that doesn't have batarangs, smoke bombs, grappling hook, or trackers or tracers,
Mhm.
because it's like that feels pretty universal. And if you don't have one of those, are you really that? It's like there would never be a point where I'd be like, what, no explosive gel? But there would definitely be a point where I'm like, how do you not have a tracker? you're Batman. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. I think
Yeah.
we had definitely had some honorable mentions, but I definitely those are definitely the big four for sure. Especially assuming, yeah, again, not assuming Batmobile or like costume, obviously.
'Cause I'm looking at like a list of other ones now, and there's none like Kryptonite Ring, not really
That's
a
like
universal thing.
the most. Plus,
Um,
it's not really a gadget. It's kind of just
yeah.
a built weapon. I mean, I guess weapon gadget, but I mean,
It's so funny how a lot of these lists just have Batman's gun, like an actual
what?
gun.
It's the
He
bat
had
gun.
one, back in the 40s. He used one, but not anymore.
You know, for
Um, so are we happy with Tracker, or would we rather have the rebreather instead?
I think Tracker is better because I think that's a universal Batman thing as far as every Batman cartoon I've ever seen has a scene where Batman puts a tracker on somebody and then shows
Yeah.
up later following them. I don't
Mhm.
think I can think of a single Batman that's not done that. So
Right.
in some capacity. So I think
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. Same with smoke bombs outside of. It's kind of hard to really like say this in the context of the Batman because he didn't really use hunting gadgets. Yeah, the one, they had the symbol that was like kind of a battering, but didn't even throw it. Um,
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
yeah.
He barely used it. He used it kind of cut something just to say I did something, but it was
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
The
that
only
one wasn't really
gadget he
gadget.
really used was the eye recording device, and then
Yeah,
the adrenaline shot and the grappling gun.
yeah.
Can't really think of any others.
I mean,
The
not
suit,
really.
the
He kind of just
flight suit.
showed up. He's got the bulletproof suit. He didn't really use. I mean, he used shadows, but he didn't really use smoke bombs.
Mhm.
Didn't really. I don't think he did. He have a tracker on Catwoman at all, or is he just following her? So it feels like he did, but
I I feel like he used a tracker at some point, but I can't place when. Maybe he didn't. But
it's been a while, and that was a long
yeah,
movie. So
yeah,
probably could have been in a context of 3 hours, it could have been a blink and you miss it.
yeah. But yeah, regardless, absolutely, battering, grapple gun, smoke bomb, tracker. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's everything I have. Anything else you want to bring in for discuss before we sign off?
You got Sparking Zero comes out on Friday.
Yep,
Very
I got a
excited.
PS5 to play it on.
I did. I'm so ready. I've been waiting for this game since like 2010. So
Yeah.
it's
Is
time.
your PS5 was it brand new for $500? Was it used?
So it was brand new for 450.
Okay.
So I'm happy with it.
Is that the? It's not the digital one, is it?
No, no, no,
No.
no,
Oh,
no. We don't do that here.
I didn't think
No,
so because
I don't
I
believe
know
in
that
no.
the digital one goes for 450. The this one
I
is
think
500.
it went.
Is
I
it?
saw it was at GameStop. It went on sale
Oh,
this. I think it was Sunday, and then I was
oh,
like, oh well, it's on sale. Game comes out next week. Guess I'm getting it.
okay. Good.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care.